Red Summit RF. This is the live stream here for the YouTubers Hamfest, and today with me we've got Sebastian
Thank you for all the help in
from Switzerland. So, do you go by Sebastian then, or something different?
Well, yeah, hi all. I usually go by Sebastian, or on the bands I'm Seb because it's shorter.
Okay.
But I'm actually not in Switzerland. It's Germany,
yes.
but it's right on the Swiss-German border, so almost Switzerland.
Yeah, we were just talking about Switzerland a second ago, weren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So we have a good show here today. We're going to talk about Morse code a little bit, but we wanted to kind of get involved into a little bit about what you do and who you are first. So let's just tell the audience a little bit about what you are, what you do, who you are, kind of some of the things you're interested in.
Sure. Where do I start? My name is Sebastian. Call sign is Delta Juliet 5 Sierra Echo. 42 years old. And I've been a ham only for the last 2 years, so I'm quite new to the game. Like job-wise, I come from a technical background, from electronics. Technician was my first profession, so to speak. But at the moment, I run a company that makes specialized canoeing equipment and offers canoe instructions and skills training. So yeah, this is what keeps me happy and alive, and so I'm also an outdoors guy as well.
Yeah. So on that canoeing stuff, so your company makes the canoes out of what material? How do you make them?
Well, it's a composite material, but it's we try to use renewable materials, so it's mainly flax fiber, yeah, stuff like that. So yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, so then we're going to talk a little about your Morse code journey, right? So a little bit about how you learned or didn't learn Morse code.
Both, actually. Both, yeah.
Okay. Well, so you said you're relatively new to ham radio. How did you get interested in Morse code, or find a need to learn Morse code?
Well, yeah, that like most of things in my life, that happened almost by accident. So you got to know, I live I live at the Lake of Constance, which is where also the annual ham radio show is. A lot of ham radio people might know that. I was into tinkering with electronics and homebrewing stuff, and also played a little bit with CB radios. And in 1 year, I was like, okay, I have some time on my hands. I could maybe just take the boat. We have like a motorboat, like not we, but there's a ship that goes from my place over directly to where the show is. So I went there to see what probably interesting stuff would be there. And at first I was completely lost because I wasn't sure what this would give me. But then I ended up at the booth of the German club, the DARC, and there were at least 3 very awesome blokes that sort of talked me into getting licensed. So one guy was like, so you know Ohm's law? And I said, yes. So why don't you sign up for the test? And yeah, so this was when I decided to at first buy the books to study, and did that right on the show. Yeah, and how that happened, it wasn't that easy then, but yeah. And the other guy out of the bunch of the 3 was, what I didn't know back then, the author of Learn CW Online. So this was Fabian, very interesting guy. If you haven't, you should probably interview him someday.
Okay, yeah.
And he was like so excited about this Morse code stuff. He was into high-speed telegraphy, and I think he was competing back then as well. And so then I learned that Morse code still is sort of a thing, and that people can have fun with it, right?
Yeah, it's still a thing, huh?
Yeah, and so I didn't decide to learn Morse code in the beginning, but I started to play with it for a bit.
Yeah.
So I think I downloaded an app, which gave me sort of a straight key on my phone, and I tried to mimic the characters and learn them somehow, and play with them.
So,
my kids joined in as well, so they played with Morse code as well. Yeah.
fun. Yeah. Well, I want to get to that, but let's just back up for just a minute. I wanted to ask you. Well, let me just acknowledge Brian, AD8GI. Thank you, and Ham Radio 2.0. Thank you for your contribution. So Sebastian, can we talk a little bit about your licensing requirements? Since you're new, you kind of went through that, right? Before we talk about the CW thing, I'm just kind of curious there in your country, what it's like there.
It's basically very similar to what it is in Switzerland. So we have two licenses: the Class E, which is the what is it called? Not beginners license. I don't know. I think it is probably the same as your general. So we don't have the technician entry level, but the one after that. And then we have the second is the Class A, which would be the full license. I think it's called in the UK, or is that the extra?
Yes.
Or I don't know.
Yes.
Something like that. So yeah. So I started with Class E. Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. And then you were saying that you downloaded an app and in essence gave you what was a straight key, and you were playing with your kids with that, right?
Yeah. I can show it real quick. I think. Sure. Well, maybe. Let's find this.
I've shared.
I have a screenshot somewhere. Oh yeah, here it is. I hope this works now. Huh. It's very simple, but it looks distinctively, so that's a good thing. No. Excuse me, guys. I'm new to this Zoom thing.
No, you're cool.
Yeah, it basically looks like this. It's like this weird color. And what you can tap on the transmit field, and it just it's worked like a straight key, and it tries to recognize the characters and types them on the screen there. But you can at the same time, of course, hear the side tone.
Okay.
So yeah, that was how it all started.
So you started learning straight key first, huh?
Well, I wouldn't consider that as starting learning the code, because back then it was just playing, just like trying to understand how this thing works. What is this thing? And I didn't have the goal to learn CW back then, but it was just a fun thing. But of course, it sort of started getting me into learning, because I was memorizing characters made up of dots and dashes. So you see where this is going.
Yes. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So then, what was next then? So you learned, you got licensed, and then right away you were interested in Morse code. Now, was that because of the project you were working on, or?
The fun thing is, it was like the other way around at first. So while I was studying for my Class E license, where I think the test was in. Oh yeah, it was 2018. The test was in January 2019. So I had a little time on my hands, and just started to play with Morse code. Then after the test, I met some other hams, and some of them did CW. So yeah, this back then was maybe the time when I made the decision I really want to learn this, at least to a very basic level. So that was the idea then.
Okay. All right. So yeah, what did you do then? And how did you, so you were like interested in learning Morse code. You had some friends that knew it, and so they were helpful then to you?
Well, they were sort of course, friends are always helpful, right? But they were like, yeah, you just got to practice, basically. This is what I did. We had a very old vinyl recording, or a recording from a vinyl Morse code class that was around here, and basically was reading out, was giving dots and dashes, and you had to write them down, and then he was reading it back to you, and you could see if you did it right or wrong. And well, I felt like when I could memorize the complete character set, and it was like, wow, awesome, this is a superpower. I got this right. Until I turned on the radio, tuned to the Morse code section, and discovered that I'm a simplex Morse code operator. I didn't understand a thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, this was quite hard. was quite a
Yeah, I've done that too. You know, that's kind of what my experience was as well. You know, I had an app and I was learning Morse code and I had the characters down. And I too, yeah, I turned on the radio and I started listening. I'm like, I can't copy anything.
what? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And it all went like a blur.
Yes.
Yeah, so I decided, okay, there must be a different way, and I looked into different teaching and learning methods, which always interests me because I'm, as I mentioned before, I do instruction, and also I'm an instructor trainer for canoeing. Canoeing is a skill. It's not a thing that you can memorize, but it requires like physical things as well. So things like that always excite me, and I really want to look into how to acquire a new skill. Skills are awesome. So yeah, I did my Google searches and shortly figured out that there are methods that sort of guide you or should guide you through the learning process. And of course, the first one that was recommended and that I discovered was the Koch method.
Yes.
For those that don't know it, maybe I explain a little. Basically, what it does is you learn two characters at first, and once you got them 90% right, you progress with the next character. Next one is added. So, in age and time where there are many apps available, there's of course this is of course a good easy thing to do. Mm-hmm. And I figured out you can learn the characters this way, but not so much other things. So it's not the whole thing.
Right.
Yeah, this was then, let me see. I made some notes.
So was that what you used first then, was the Koch method?
Sort of, yeah. But what I didn't know at first is that speed is a very, very important thing. So I was like learning at about, well, receiving, of course, just receiving, learning at about 15 words per minute, which is quite slow. It's nice for a QSO, I think. But if for learning characters, it's quite slow. And I soon had to discover that this doesn't really help me because it builds a sort of a lookup table in your brain. And this is a completely different area in your brain than processing a language. So it has nothing to do with that. So I could memorize the whole code still, but I didn't get to, I wasn't getting any faster. So that was the trouble.
So what is the optimal speed then for Koch that you think that people should use?
I'll get to that later, but I think it's very individually different. I tried to crank up the speed then. I tried, of course, several other apps. I used Learn CW Online, which is an awesome website, basically. For those who don't know it, it gives you, it implements the Koch method in a very clever way, and it keeps track of your progress. And it has a Morse machine, so you can check where you are at. And you can also have a sort of a score and compete with others if you're into that. It has a social component as well.
Okay. Real quick, there's a question from their handle is Liberty Cave. Have you seen the Wadsworth method used with FLDigi, and have you tried that at all?
The what?
Wordsworth.
No, but it makes me curious right now.
Yeah.
No.
We'll have
I
to
know
look.
So I know then there's the Farnsworth. Well, it's not a method; it's a speed, basically, right?
Yeah.
I
haven't heard Wordsworth either, but okay, go ahead.
Okay. So yeah, I tried many tools because there's so much available out there. If you go to to the app store and type in CW, you get tons of stuff. And trying to filter my way through what's helpful and what not was not easy always. Oh yeah, the next step was like I was always practicing sending because I thought, well, if I can send it, I can understand it, which was wrong, but that was where the fun for me was at first. So then I figured, maybe if I could get away from the straight key and go to using a paddle, I would not focus as much on doing dots and dashes, and more like, because if you use a keyer, you press the pedal, right? And you have sort of wait for it to happen to complete the sound. So that was my idea of maybe this helps. Downloaded another app because there are pedals available as well, and used that for a while. And on the other hand, for receiving, I played with this Koch Method. KMT Pro is the name of the app. I send you a link list, I think, later. I have compiled a list with
okay,
all
yeah,
sorts of stuff.
we'll put that in.
Yeah, so people can look it up if they like. Then there was another thing which was really cool, and because I have 2 kids, let me see this one. Okay, how do I share this?
While you're looking at that, Geo Astro RV just popped in, and they're just mentioning that they use the they log into the Long Island CW. They're a member of the Long Island CW club, which you may be talking about too. But I just I've used them as well, and they're great. So yeah.
I've heard a lot of good things about that. I haven't used it myself. I've gone the other route. There is, well, there are obviously more, but one specifically. But I sort of had contact to folks from Long Island CW Club, and it's an amazing bunch of people. And I think they do one thing really, really well, and that is motivating people and just get them on the bands and having fun. So
right,
yeah. Oh. So real quick, well, sort of quick. I share this. Wait, yeah. So this is the other thing. It's just a screenshot. Looks a bit weird. This is called Morse Mania. And what this does is it's like the gamification of Morse code. Oh. So it plays sounds, and you have to tap on one of the letters here. Only those are active that you're currently learning. And if you guess them wrong, it removes points. If you guess them right, it gives you points. So it's basically a game, and yeah, it's sort of addicting. You forget that you're learning Morse code, but you're just playing a game, and it happens sort of naturally. And even my daughter came from time to time, said, "Daddy, can I play the Morse game?"
Yeah, I love this one because my wife, she recently got her technician and general license, and the way that she, here in the United States, a lot of people would agree with me. I think that the way you do it is you memorize the questions to get the license, and then once you have the license, then you actually start learning not Morse code, learning about ham radio. This is kind of the way it is. But anyway, my wife used a couple of apps, and she before she started learning ham radio. Tried to study for that test. You come home, and to decompress, she'd download apps and just kind of mindless games and just play just games. And so when it came time for her to start studying for her ham test, she used something similar. And I think that's a great way to really learn anything, including Morse code, is to make a game out of it, and then you're more apt to
replace Candy Crush.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're more apt to go there like on a daily basis or more frequently, and it makes it more enjoyable. Like it's not some sort of just tedious studying that you're doing.
Yeah, that's right. So I then learned quickly that this is gonna be a longer process. So and this is a thing really I would recommend to anybody who wants to learn Morse code. Don't try to set goals in terms of an outcome, but try to develop a habit. Like you, if you just do something daily, you will get there, no matter what.
Right. That's what Don says in the chat. N5SKT says, "Learn by doing."
Yeah, absolutely. And I think just making that decision that I'm gonna do something with Morse code for say 10 to 15 minutes every single day, maybe in the morning, in the evening, for say the next 2 months or so. Just that will get you a long way, but I don't think it's sufficient. You need a bit more probably. Also, what I discovered with this app, with Morse Mania, I love this app, and I think even for younger folks, or just especially for younger folks, it might be a very good way to get introduced to the characters without counting. So there's all sorts of happens naturally, which is very well. On the other hand, I figured out one day that it sort of conditioned me to associate a sound pattern with a spot on the touchpad.
Okay.
And this was not actually what I wanted. So with all the tools and apps you use, I think there is an inherent risk of not learning Morse code, but learning a tool. So I think it really helps to mix them up a little bit. And this is just the things that can go with the whole journey. In the meantime, well, you got to understand with our Class E license we talked earlier about. In Germany, we have, as well as in Switzerland, we have just the 80 meter band on shortwave. We have 15 meters and we have 10, and UHF, VHF. So the interesting bands for Morse code were just limited to 15, 10, and 80. So my first transceiver, I actually have this here, is this one.
Oh,
it's,
yeah.
The QCX.
QCX, yeah. What band?
That's 80 meter.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, says it back there. Oh, we can't see it. It's 80 meter because it was the only band that I was allowed to operate on, apart from 10 and 15. And 15 was pretty much dead all the time back then, or I didn't know how to make contacts. And for 10, yeah, it was more like at some days with a sporadic E, you could get lucky and go into like Spain or Italy or something like that, but not much further. So I tried when I built this has an built-in decoder. So I went outside, crawled up a hill, which I always like to do when operating. I set up a huge end-fed half-wave antenna for 80 meters. Connected my little rig and decided to just listen for a bit, and maybe I would dare to try to answer a call. And so it came. There was an Italian station that was slow enough for me to copy, and he was calling 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, and was like, "Oh, why is nobody answering?" So I thought, okay, maybe I should just throw in my call and hope that he won't hear me. Which he did. So
hope that he doesn't hear me.
Yeah, I was hoping so badly that he wouldn't hear me. I was sweating blood and tears and everything. Yeah, but he replied, and it was very nice. And I replied as well, and gave him the report, and sort of got wound up in the longer explanation that I'm new to CW and that this is my first QSO and that I'm going to keep it short because of that, which of course was quite long. But he understood everything I sent. I didn't understand that much, but I had the decoder as a backup. And this moment I realized that it had saved my ass, so to speak, but it wouldn't help me. It wouldn't help me to learn Morse code any better, because what I figured out while I was reading, I couldn't listen, and while I was listening, I couldn't read. So this was like those two things were like mutually exclusive. That didn't go together. And then this was the day when I decided, okay, no decoders anymore. Just for I use them for sending practice. Because I think that's a very good thing for sending. So you can, see if you're sending correctly, if the spaces are right, get the timing right. So I like them for that.
So, let's pause here real quick. Let me mention here in the chat, because this came up. Wordsworth method is an adaptation of the Farnsworth method. Rather than sending letters at higher speed with lots of spaces between, it's complete words at higher speed with lots of spaces. And that's from this side of the radio, which I think is Sean. So thank you.
Yeah, this is awesome, because that I think fixes one of the drawbacks of the Koch method. Koch method, just the building up of the characters, and the downside for that is if you're using an app, in order to know when you can progress to the next character, when you have your 90%, you need to type it in somehow. So it's not necessarily head copy. Mm-hmm. And that again develops a skill to hear a sound and to type it down. And I think this was the preferred method in doing it back in the old days, because back then, basically, receiving, it was like teletyping, right? You had to produce a sheet of paper with the message on, which you could hand then to the captain or whatever, which is totally different from having an actual conversation. And the Farnsworth method, or Farnsworth spacing, just keeps a high speed, or refers more to the speed, keeps a high speed of the characters, but puts a little more space in between those characters. So you have to have a little bit more time to think about what you just heard. And then the Wordsworth method would apply the same principle, I would speculate, to whole words, which is really important, because at a certain stage, I wasn't learning characters anymore, or even if I couldn't understand every character, I still could understand the meaning of what someone was sending, because I think the first thing everybody hears is CQ. It's like so you don't need to think about it. It's like instant. What is instant word recognition? The first goal, instant character recognition for puzzling things together. But in order to have a conversation, we need a bit more like instant word recognition. So the Wordsworth method then would sort of fix that, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don says, I think that the next step in CW is to start learn. Yeah, he's that's what he's saying is learn the whole words. Sometimes can be a good way to go.
Yeah, and this is actually interesting, because I figured that when we're talking about learning Morse code, it's not entirely clear what we're talking about, actually. What is the thing you want to use it for? Do you want to contest? Do you want to do soda? Do you want to do high-speed telegraphy? Do you want to rack chew? This is different things, and I think you need a different prioritization for these different skills. So while I'm not a contester, so I may be wrong at that, correct me then. But I think during contests, it's more important to be rather quick and get the call signs with the first go and type them into your log or whatever. So actually making this connection from hearing the letters and typing them into your keyboard might be a very good thing for contesting, but it won't help you much for rack chewing. So they're different. I think different priorities depending on what you want to do. This is that.
Yep. Cool. All right, so let's see. So we covered the fact that you shouldn't send first when you're learning. We covered the fact that there's all these different tools, and you don't want to learn the tool, which forces you to do sometime. And so then you were continuing on. You were talking about the method that you were using right now. And then, so what's next then? What was next in your journey of What
was next in my journey was like, okay, I thought, okay, I reached sort of a plateau, and I figured that no matter what I'm doing, I'm not getting faster on the receive side. Back then I could, like, there was on YouTube, I don't know the channel name, but there are videos out there where someone posted little stories, just a couple of sentences long, at I think 5 words per minute or so, and I could then just listen to that story in Morse code and hear the story about this German Shepherd or whatever. And that was really, that gave me the feeling that I actually accomplished something, right? But no matter what I did, I couldn't get any faster. So I looked around again, and I found many other helpful resources. Let me find this. Oh yeah. Wait. No. Sorry. Yeah, one of those was a podcast. You may or may not know that the dit.fm podcast. If you don't know it, you should definitely Google dit.fm. I binge listened to all the episodes, I think, in 2 days or so, and there are many of them. A lot of great folks there from Long Island CW Club, CW Ops, Morse Code Ninja is there, which we might come later too. And I think you have as a guest today as well, right?
Yes, Morse Code Ninja is coming on 3 o'clock my time. But let's just stop here real quick, since you mentioned those, for people who may not know, because I'm sure there's people in here who haven't heard of them. They're people who are interested, who are probably listening, who don't know even where to start with Morse code. And you mentioned CW Ops and Long Island CW Club, so I think this is a good time to stop and just plug both of those, and just kind of describe them a little bit. We mentioned Long Island CW Club earlier, but both of these organizations, and you correct me if I'm wrong, Sebastian, both of them are a club of sorts that provide online training so that you can learn Morse code with a group of other people who are new, and it's done online, but also they provide tools for you to learn on your own in between the meetings that they have. Long Island CW Club, the dues I think are $10, and when you join, they have all these different classes you can choose from, and you can just pop in and out of whatever you want at any time. But CW Ops is more structured in that you start with the beginner, then you go to intermediate, and then you go to advanced, and then when you're done with that, then either way, when you're done, then you should be able to get on the air. And actually, you already would have been on the air by that time, right?
Yeah, I think most people could get on the air by the end of the beginner's class somehow.
Yeah.
I plan to go into CW Academy a little more later because it has some really interesting things.
Yes. But CW Ops, on the other hand, if you at some point they have these sprints where you can get online, like they have the times all set. You get on and learn Morse code that way too.
Yeah, it's on Wednesdays.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think there are 2 times, one for the European guys and one for the like closer to the US. And it's a contest, but only I think half an hour or an hour,
right?
Something like that. Yeah. And the really cool guys, and they encourage beginners to get into that. And whenever a beginner's class ends, they have a special CWT, I think is the short hand for that, in which they all slow down to, I think, 20 words per minute and below, to honor the new graduates, so to speak, which is really awesome. Yeah,
it is awesome. And the CW Ops, I at some point want to get into CW, to be inducted into that club, to get into there. I mean, you can take the classes and stuff like that, and the end goal is that you can have a QSO at 25 words a minute, and you have to be nominated by somebody who's in there, and then you have to demonstrate that you can do that, and then you are a CW Ops member, which is
to join the club. So, but you don't need to join a club in order to take part in the lessons.
Right. So that's what's different about that one. And on the other hand, the Long Island CW Club, you can join right away. One more thing about Long Island CW Club that I like, and if you can't tell, I like them both a great deal, is that Long Island CW Club has kind of specialized classes. Like I hopped into their head copy class, which is not intermediate, beginning, or advanced. It's they focus on head copy, and so there's specialized classes as well. If you have one particular thing that you have a hang up on, then they can help you with that. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's great. I think they're quite a bit different in their approach. So as you mentioned, CW Academy may be a bit more strictly structured. So it doesn't cost you any money, but if you sign up for the beginners class, you are expected to really commit to 2 months of this class. So that basically means you have a Zoom session twice a week, and a daily practice of, I think they recommend half an hour or something, but more helps, obviously. So you need to bring that commitment. But on the other hand, I think this is a good thing, because just setting that goal to do this for 2 months relieves you from all that stress of like, am I making any progress? All these questions, you just can't let go of them. You just need to show up and do your daily routine. And by the end of the 2 months, you definitely will have learned something. So that came as a great relief for me, especially in a situation where I was stuck with this plateau, like not feeling like I'm not making any progress. Then I said, okay, let's just do this for 2 months and see what happens.
Yeah.
That was just awesome.
Yeah. So one last thing on these two organizations who I think are both great. For me, I already signed up for the CW Ops intermediate class, and some people listening who see me send Morse code and know that I guess I'm pretty proficient in it on the summits. But the problem is I still can't carry on a good QSO with people, and so I'm really kind of taking a step back with that class. Going into the intermediate so that I can actually learn to do brag chewing, because I really have an interest in that. So
yeah, there's this aspect of starting over, which I did several times. So even when I was in the CW beginners class, I could have signed up for, I think what is the next one? Intermediate, I think it's the next one, or advanced, I don't know. But I decided to start lower again because if you want to do something really well, maybe it helps to start with the basics. Basics are important, I think. Also, I read an article about of a YL. I don't remember her name, unfortunately, but she suggested that if you can't make any progress getting faster at receive, it may indicate that you don't know the alphabet. Yeah. Like, you know the alphabet, but you don't have it, right? And she suggested starting over at a higher speed again. About midterm through the beginners class, I still had the same problem. I had half of the characters set. I could have like instant character recognition, was no problem at all. But the characters I learned at the very first beginning, I was still referring to that memorized lookup table. And no matter what I did, I always fell into the trap of sometimes replaying the sound in my head, analyzing it, and getting back to these characters. Even at 20-25 words per minute, because 20 or 25 words per minute so is the character speed you actually start in CW Academy. Yeah. In order to prevent your brain from getting hung up in this counting and analyzing thing. Because if you look at it, analyzing something or counting is a completely different area in your brain than understanding a language.
Yes.
So for me, what really helped me was seeking a method to force my brain into using the other area and not like doing it as a conscious analyzation thing.
Yeah. So that brings up another question that was raised by Tom Liska, which is, does your guest recommend learning without writing down every letter from the very beginning of when you're learning?
I'm no authority for that, but yes. Given my experiences, I would definitely do so. Yeah, I would get rid of pencil and paper at first, especially for single characters. Short words like three letters, you can buffer that. That's not a problem. When they get longer, you run out of buffer, and then you feel like drawn to the drawing board. But it's nothing wrong to take notes. If you are in a QSO or something, I write down plenty of stuff. But at first, we were encouraged to write them down after we understood what we just heard.
Yeah. See, I kind of agree with that too, because, in my opinion, and actually, I don't think it was maybe Chuck or somebody in the Coffee and Ham Radio. They had a CW one. You go back and look at that one. That was probably a week ago or a few days ago. They were talking about CW, and it was a great point that was raised that when you now I forgot my train of thought here because I was plugging their what were we talking about? Is it the
like writing down.
Oh, that's
hard copy. Yeah. Hard copy versus hard copy, or hard copy versus easy copy.
Right. They were saying that you definitely have to write down, even if you actually know the code, you still have to write stuff down. I mean, you can't, like, at some point you've got to log it, right? Unless you're just doing some just a rag chewing and that's it. At some point you have to write down the call sign, you have to write down the time and the signal report. So it's okay to write things down, but it's interesting what you say, that you actually should know what you're saying. Instead of writing it down in sequence as the letters come across, you should actually comprehend it and then write it down, right?
Actually, I do all of that. So the answer is not that clear. It depends on what you're doing. I mean, as I said earlier, when you're in a contest and you need to write down call signs quickly and you tie these sounds directly to the keys on your keyboard, that's awesome. That's probably the perfect way to do so. I don't know, but a call sign or something you don't know, you will always hear differently than like words that you use in everyday conversation, right? So everyday conversation in a QSO is like Q codes 73, hope see you again, fine business, these phrases. So if you need to write them down in order to understand them, you're losing a lot of time. So, and you won't build that. I think you won't build that dictionary in your brain if you copy down single characters. Then you need to put them together. And well, if you watch little children learning to read, it's about the same thing. They go like letter by letter and they connect them into a chain, and all of a sudden it makes sense, but only backwards. It's reminds me of a story from two ops in the same room, where one was receiving and the other one was laughing while the first one was trying to decipher the joke the other guy sent. So it's a different thing. And even we as adults, if we read something and we have very complicated words we don't normally use, then we refer back to the letter by letter method, or maybe syllable by syllable, and connect these things together. But for the majority of words that we are proficient with, we don't do that. So I think both is okay, but it depends on where you use it. And if the habits you develop during your training are actually good for helping you getting there. I think this is also when you use like tools like with apps for the Koch method or like a Morse, so it's all fine. But at a certain point, you need to start to have a conversation and expose yourself to words, to sentences, to meanings. I think this is very important. And it's really frustrating when you don't do that next step and don't make any progress anymore.
Okay. Well, what's next on your journey then? So we kind of get sidetracked every once in a while here, but
yeah, I'm sorry. Well, let me just maybe explain real quick what I did when I got stuck with these 25 words per minute and still counting. Yeah, because that was really a hard thing for me. I then figured maybe, just maybe, 25 words per minute is still too slow in order to trick my brain to use the other area. So what I did then was like I cranked up the speed of my little keyer in there, put it in practice mode, cranked it up to, I think, does it go to 50 words per minute, something like that. Sure. And I tried to distinguish a 5 from the letter H, which was not possible for me. It still isn't. So it's all one thing. I can't make it. It's just not a difference. But I then lowered the speed up to a point where I could reliably distinguish the both. Just realize that it's a different thing. Not necessarily understand, but just hear that there's a difference. And that was back then at 33 words per minute. And then I went back learning the whole characters from the beginning at 33 words per minute speed, obviously with fines with spacing in between. And that was sort of hard, but it made a huge difference. This was what finally got me out of counting. It was way easier than to continue with the other things.
So what he means by that, if you're really new to CW and don't know, if you haven't even started learning, a lot of times people will count dashes or dots, and if they hear 3 dits, then they know that's an S, and they go 1 2 3, okay, 1 2 3 4, okay, that's an H, 1 2 3 4 5, okay, that's a 5, that type of stuff. So
yeah.
So it's just instead you instinctively know when you hear those 3 dits together, it's the same as hearing it's like hearing a single word or a single character.
Yeah. So that was really important for me. Also, what helped me a lot was okay, I'm obviously, I know CW Academy, and I really like it because they do some very clever things. I think one of the core principles is they start with a paddle, so no dots and dashes. They start at a high speed, 20 to 25 words per minute, character speed, head copy only at first. And also, from the very first session, you learn 4 characters, a couple of words, and you can make your first sentences just with the first 4 characters. And that helps a lot, because then all of a sudden you discover when you learn more words that there are similarities in like syllables in words we use in daily speech. It's almost the same, like tea or test, or they begin the same way. So you can learn more like groups of things and not individual characters. This is really awesome. And also the just having a group and great advisors. Oh, thank you to the advisors. I had Conrad, Sierra, Quebec 6, Golf India Tango, and Phil, G4 and VR. They were just awesome. They were helping so much with encouragement and keeping us on track. Yeah,
cool.
Definitely recommend it.
All right, so let's see. We've got, it's ice show 646, and plus we need a minute of transition into the next video, which will be Chuck's video. So that leaves like 15, 14, like 13 minutes left. I do want to still cover your key or paddle, and I still need to just have a mention. I need to mention the, maybe this is a good time to mention the, what's it called? Let me bring it up here. That another tool that one can use, and that is, if I can find it here, it's called VBand. And you probably have heard of VBand. I'll post it. Actually, let me just bring it over here in the window real quick and show people what it looks like. So there's these different channels here, and you can just go ahead and hop into one and have a Morse code chat with somebody without even being licensed. It's another way to learn. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that since we were mentioning different tools.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, I would, if you don't mind, I would just wrap up a couple of points that I think were really important for me. I think if you're considering learning Morse code, make the decision today and make a plan on what you're going to do. Start today and not say, I wanted to learn Morse code. We'll see how that happens, or some when. There are plenty of opportunities. Sign up for a class or whatever, or make a plan on how to get there. Set a goal to practice daily, which I think for most of the people, I'm not sure about you, but most of the people still do practice from time to time, even if when they are proficient. It helps to follow a path, may it be like Long Island CW Club or CW Academy. Actually, when you go to the website of CW Academy, there's or cwops.org, CW Academy, there is student resources, and they have the P-Hub, the practice instruction assignment handbook, something like that. It's a PDF that guides you through the whole process. You can download that. It's freely available, and you can start practicing today even without signing up if you want. Also, I would strongly recommend getting a group of people who you can play with. That's really important to stay in the loop and keep making progress. And focus on doing a program. Dedicate that time and do that, and forget about the progress. Progress comes naturally later. Don't question if you're good enough or whatever. Enjoy the practice sessions and make them a habit. And just don't stop, and you will get there eventually. So that will be my most important points.
Okay, good. Those are all great points. Yeah, and some that I actually need to follow as well, because I have
we all do.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. There's people all along in the spectrum of how much they know or have learned, how well they know Morse code, and you know, I have a long way to go. But anyway, all right. Well, so you had this project then that you were working on, right? And you realized that you needed a key or a paddle. Tell us about that a little bit.
Another accident. So I had this project. You got to in over here in Europe, a lot of people commute by public transportation. So if you're sitting in a bus or a train or something, I thought it would be really cool if you could connect somehow and have a Morse QSO without getting on HF, because you can't. You're stuck in a train or something, right? So the project was making a little device, which I don't have because it's not done yet, with a software which could connect over wireless to your phone and then to a server. So you could have some QSOs with a little battery, and so that's the idea. I started writing the software for that. It's in some ways a bit similar to V-band, probably, I think, which I learned about later. It uses the protocol that the Morse-Arino uses, because Morse-Arino can do something like that as well, connect to each other and to a server. And when I was testing that, I felt like, okay, I really need to get to make some progress with the hardware first, because I was trying to use capacitive touch, and that didn't end up very well. So then I decided, okay, maybe we need to make a case and a pedal that works very well. I wanted a very reliable pedal, and I had done I think I have printed 3D printed all the pedals on Thingiverse, maybe, but most of them weren't what I was expecting from precision wise. So while I was designing this pedal, sorry? Oh, I can't hear you, Charlie. Oh, no. Again? No? Okay. While I was doing that, I ended up with a pedal, and then other OEMs came by and said, well, this looks really like something we had a couple of years ago, which was a really nice pedal, which isn't produced anymore. Why don't you just make a case for that and have it as a pedal? So yeah, this is what I ended up doing, and it looks like this attached to my rig. Can push it in, and the interesting thing is that you can attach this mounting plate to either side. So no matter if you want to put it underneath or on top of something or sideways, works every time. I still can't hear you, Charlie. I don't know if it's on my side or.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's better. Yeah,
All
sounded
right.
like a loose connection or something.
All right, there we go. So you made this this CW paddle, I guess you would call it. Do you have you have a place where you're actually you made a bunch of them, and then you let a bunch of people test them, right?
Yeah, sure. I gave a couple of people the pedal. They liked it very much. So, yeah.
Cool.
Like this. Yeah.
So,
has a little key Allen wrench in there, so you can take it apart. If you want to adjust the spring tension, I adjust them to 20 grams right now, but you can adjust the contact spacing and the spring tension to whatever you like. Cool. So there's a little, I'm not sure if you can see it. One here is for the spring tension, one is for the contact spacing.
Bring it up a little higher.
Oh, sorry.
There you go.
Yeah. Maybe look it up on the website. The images are way better there. Yeah.
So you have a website where you make this paddle available, right?
Right. Yeah. We set up a website, radioadventuregear.com. No, .de. I'm sorry, .de. Okay. It's brand new, so I can't even remember the URL.
Okay. Yeah. Do you mind bringing it up and showing it?
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, that's cool. I can't see the pictures though, I think, from here, but. That was actually an interesting process because I had to learn new tools, and tight tolerances were quite new to me, and also learned new stuff like gold plating contacts, and that was fun.
Well, it's impressive that you were able to actually come up with your own design and actually build a paddle. That's next level stuff, man.
I don't know. I've done a couple of them. This was one of my earlier approaches with magnets and ball bearings, and do a lot of mistakes, and eventually we'll get there.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's take a look at this. Can you share your screen on that website and show people what you're doing there?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just a second.
Should be that website. If I do it, it messes stuff up for some reason. I don't.
That's all right. Just a second. Share screen. There it is.
Yeah, that there. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
I've already. I think, was I your first customer or no?
You actually were. Yeah, that was quite funny. I didn't expect that to happen. It was like, Thank you very much, by the way.
Yeah.
Did you receive it already, or is it still underway?
I haven't got it yet. For those of you who are interested in a Pico palm paddle type or similar, I mean, you didn't just copy the design from that, obviously, but you just happened to. This is kind of, you actually kind of ended up, your design is pretty similar, though, right?
It is sort of pretty similar, yeah. I think the process they use to make it is completely different, and there are some differences. I don't know. I have had never seen one close up before, so yeah.
Yeah. So, but anyway, yeah, I ordered mine, and with the COVID and the shipping from Europe and all that, who knows when I'm going to get it? Could be
they
2 or 3
say
months.
6 to 8 weeks or so. Could take a little longer. That's the sad thing, because right now they're doing everything with ships and not airplanes anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So, but if you're interested, I mean, if somebody's looking for a portable key, this would be a great place to get one, I think. Wouldn't you, Sebastian?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So, anything else before we wrap up? Looks like we got about 2 minutes before we wrap up. So.
Anything else? I don't know. I would say if you consider learning the code, just start today. Sign up for a class, or ask someone where to start, and figure out a path and some program you can dedicate to for the next 2 months or so, and you will get there. And get on the bands early. Get early. People are awesome on the bands, so they will go a long way to help you. And yeah, just do it. Have fun. It's amazing how much fun Morse code is.
Yeah, I would agree. Can you hear me still, by the way?
Yeah, it's fine.
Cool. All right. Well, Sebastian, I really, really appreciate you coming out and being a guest on the show. It was a great conversation. Obviously, your path it may have been a unique one, but obviously you've learned a lot along the way, and what you've shared with us is, I think, will be helpful to other people who are learning Morse code. You had some great tips there, and you obviously have spent a lot of time researching how to learn Morse code, and you put some time into it. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Charlie. It's been a pleasure, and was great that we could make this happen here. Thank you very much. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yes, no problem. All right, guys. So coming up, we've got some more YouTubers Hamfest stuff going on. If you haven't joined us, what's that, Kurt?
Kurt.
Oh, Kurt, yeah.
Morse Code Ninja. Watch Morse Code Ninja.
Yes,
awesome.
Kurt is coming up. On my channel, he's going to be on at 3 o'clock this afternoon, my time, Arizona time. That's 2200 UTC. The Morse Code Ninja will be on. So just if you don't know where the playlist is, you can catch it in the chat there up at the top. I've pinned it up there. It should be all over the place. Any of the videos you go into, for any of the YouTubers should have it. So with that, I'd like to say thank you. And then also the last thing in transition here is we've got Chuck coming up, and he has a video he has a live stream coming up on antennas. And he has a guest on. I guess I better go look and see whose guest is. I think he's somebody from out of the country as well. Maybe not. Yeah, MM0OPX and Chuck are going to be talking about antenna design, I think, a little bit, and how to adjust antennas and get them to work better for you. I don't know. Chuck will have to tell you. So if you like antennas, then that would be the place to go. So with that, I'm going to say 73 to everybody, and we will catch you on the next one.
73. Thank you. Bye-bye.